All right, boys, welcome to BUBL playoffs. Back with the playoff Jimmy jersey. We're here in round one, and we actually ended up playing Uzi, who you can check out in the top right-hand corner. And this is one that I wanted back. I probably wanted this rematch the most out of all of them because, like I said before, if you guys missed, the previous match will be in the top right-hand corner. In case you did miss that, probably, I don't know, I might forget. Last time, I was coming directly back from vacation and immediately had to play, and we had some time to prep. Me and the boys, Chef Wagon and Central, prepped on a dock, and like, it was a good team. It wasn't as good as it could be, and obviously we under-prepped for Palafin, and that's just how it is. And I think that there are some things that we could have done differently in the game to secure that win. Overall, I think Uzi brought a really good team, caught us off guard with the special, did I say off guard? He caught us off guard with that special Rillaboom, and honestly, it was a great game that I wanted back. So Wagon and I got in the lab, and we ended up building a team that I'm extremely proud of. We only did one mock this week, but the team felt very, very nice. And shout out to Wagon for helping me as always. He was really pressed for time this week, so I appreciate him making time in any capacity. We did mock specifically hyper-focusing on the team that Uzi brought last time because it worked. And I think based on how he builds, he will bring something very similar, if not almost identical to the team that he brought last time because of how efficient the team was and how much it caught me off guard. Could he switch up things like the Rillaboom? Absolutely. However, I think the general baseline of the team is going to be very similar. So Sonny, go ahead and throw up Uzi's team on screen. Uzi's team is right here. Darkrai, Palafin, Tara Zapdos, Glimmora, Rillaboom, Tara Rhyperior, Tinkaton, Zoroark, Hisui, and Hitmonlee. Last time in prep, we were very hyper-focused on the fact that there was not going to be Palafin. What we thought was a fact that there was not going to be Palafin, as well as Tara Flying Rhyperior and Zoroark Hisui lead. We were very set in stone on those Pokemon were coming, and Palafin wasn't, and then one of Glimmora, Rillaboom wasn't, and the rest of the Pokemon made a lot of sense to us, and we got completely, what's the right word, sidelined by Palafin. And I didn't play my Archaludon correctly after I saw the Focus Blast on Rillaboom. That Rillaboom in general really flustered me early, and those first couple turns we really lost a lot of momentum in the game and a lot of winnability, a lot of the probability to win the game. Would that be a better way to word it? I don't know. We lost a lot of potential to pull that game out from the first few turns with that Focus Blast Rillaboom, which again was a fantastic bring in. It really caught us off guard and destroyed us. So what we're doing now, and I don't love rematches for this sole purpose because I always tend to do this. I typically tend to do this, where I hyper-focus on the team they brought last time. Again, though, I feel like my reasoning is pretty sound. I feel like he brought a very good team last time. It worked. The only thing that I could, again, like super see him switching up is the Rillaboom. Otherwise, the baseline's probably going to be pretty similar. Could he bring the Tera Flying Rhyperior and absolutely destroy the team that we're bringing now? Yes. However, I don't know if he will. So as far as the Pokemon that I think he's going to bring, let me just pull up Uzi's last pace. I'll talk about that too. So the team that Uzi brought last time, if I remember, I'll put it in the description below. I will not remember. If you want to see it, please ask me to put it in the description below because I'm not gonna remember. His team last time was an Adamant Palafin with 240 HP, 252 attack, Adamant Jet Punch, Flip Turn, Wave Crash at close combat. He had a mixed defensive Tinkaton with Stealth Rock, Thunder Wave, Gigaton, and Encore. He had a Chople Darkrai with Nasty Plot, Dark Pulse, Sludge Bomb, and Psyshock. I have no idea why he was Psyshock, by the way. I actually don't know, because Psychic just makes more sense to hit the Conch, right? What am I missing? Oh, for the Tentacruel. Oh, okay, for the Tentacruel. But he might switch that to Psychic now that he saw that my initial answer to Darkrai was Conch. So that would make a lot of sense if he switched that. Zapdos is going to be last time Tera Ground, Expert Belt, Modest, Tera Blast, Thunderbolt, Hurricane, and Agility. He could also switch that up because the Swampert that I brought completely stuffed this exact set because we were expecting it. Not the E-Belt, but otherwise. It was AV, Rillaboom, pretty Spadef, a lot of special attack actually, Wood Hammer, Knockoff, U-Turn, and Focus Blast. And he was going to be Citrus Berry, Glimmora with Mortal Spin, Earth Power, Sludge Wave, and Spikes. So I do think a similar variant of this team is going to come out. Again, the Zapdos might switch up, the Rillaboom might switch up. Generally speaking, otherwise, I think the team's going to remain a lot of the same. I think we showed him that we didn't respect the Banded Palafin enough, so I actually hope that last time is going to kind of bait him into doing the same this time because Banded Palafin does not do super well into the team that we're bringing next. And I mean, we've already talked about this team a little bit. Again, if you missed the last battle, last team builder, should be in the top right-hand corner. The things that I was worried about last time, Tera Flying Rhyperior is the thing that didn't come that I was the most worried of. Rock Polish, Terra Blast Flying, as well as Stone Edge and Earthquake were very, very scary, but last time we ended up bringing a Mirror Herb Encore Zarude to completely stuff that set specifically, because he would Rock Polish first, we would get the speed boost, and then we'd be able to Encore him, and then we'd be able to SD and potentially win the game with that variant. It didn't end up happening. Obviously, another target for that was the Zapdos. We ended up burning that Mirror Herb really early on a Pickpocket on the Tinkaton. But I don't think that he's going to bring that Rhyperior, knowing how hard I over prepped for it. I think a defensive Zapdos is also pretty scary. It's really his only Archaludon switch in, so he could bring a Spadef variant for that. He dealt with Archaludon very seamlessly last time because I allowed him to get so much chip on it with that Rillaboom. I'm going to play it a lot more cautiously this time, and he should expect that, in my opinion. So Spadef Zapdos could make a lot of sense as well. A non-AV Rillaboom could also make sense. Realistically speaking, I like the AV on Rillaboom. I think the AV made a ton of sense. He might just be more physically offensive than especially offensive this time, which is a crazy thing to say about Rillaboom. I do think that he could switch up on that. And then Zora Kasui could come. Zora Kasui is pretty scary. That Mon does do some big damage to us. Obviously, we don't have the best pivots in the world to that Pokemon, but we did show that we were willing to bring the AV Swampert, the Zarude, and we weren't afraid to switch those Pokemon in to that Zora Kasui. And we also have Archaludon to pivot on the Hyper Voice, although he probably would be okay with that chip on Arc. So I do still think Zora Kasui definitely has a place in this matchup. Man, it's weird to talk about rematches, huh? Sorry, this is a little scatterbrained and a little all over the place talking about Uzi's team because I really genuinely don't know what to talk about because I did hyperfix on his old team so much, and if I do lose, that is going to be the reason why. Because I hyperfixed on his team so much. I mean, he could throw Hypnosis on Darkrai, be like Hypnosis Plot, Dark Pulse, Sludge Bomb, and that would do fine as well. If he wants to switch something up on that. But generally speaking, I did like the structure of his team. Switch something out for Zoroark, maybe switch the Terra type on Zapdos. Could bring Rhyperior, although I don't really expect it. I really don't think Hitmonlee is going to come because of how early he played that Rillaboom and how much he saw that I think I was a defensive, let me double check that, but I think I was a defensive Deoxys. No, yeah, ish. I was a max HP Deoxys. So I don't know. I still don't think you bring the Hitmonlee. I don't think it makes a ton of sense into me, but you definitely could. Alright, so my Pokemon, I did something weird this time, and we'll talk about it in the team builder. However, I do think realistically there are only 7 Pokemon that can make an appearance, and that's going to be the top 6 Pokemon in Tentacruel. Raikou, while cool, like, doesn't really have the greatest use in the world, especially because of Rhyperior, which is what I'm the most worried of. I am literally death fodder to Rhyperior. If he's that Terra Flying Rock Polish set, his Lightning Rod, I can't hit him at all. Like Scald, maybe for a potential burn could be interesting. But if I don't get that burn, if I don't get the burn on Rillaboom switching in, I really dislike Raikou's matchup in this game. You could argue that the speed tier is nice because it allows me to outspeed the Zoroark Hisui, and he didn't bring Rhyperior last time, so maybe Scarf makes sense. He did bring Terra Ground Zapdos though. I don't know, it gets a little bit messy. I could see an argument to bring Raikou, however it was not seriously considered. And Dusknoir I don't think makes a lot of sense into a Darkrai team in general. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there's some set that I'm not thinking of that did pretty good here. Like, he doesn't really have a Ghost Resist minus Darkrai and Zoroark Hisui, so maybe Banded Polter would have been okay, but he was also not seriously considered. As for the team that we're bringing, again, this is going to be scatterbrained. I apologize, Sunny. The order that I talk about these Pokemon are not going to be the order that they are on the pace, because to talk about how this team is going to function, I really have to talk about certain Pokemon first, and the first Pokemon is going to be Tentacruel. So I'm going to spoil it. We're not bringing Deoxys. We're bringing the other 6 Pokemon that I said were possibly thought about for this game. We're not bringing Deoxys. In general, I think Deoxys like kind of does bad in this matchup. Really, it's just there for Spikes. And with how much Spikes put pressure on him last time, and how much Spikes were like such a pivotal part of my game plan, I really don't think that he's going to underprep for Spikes this time. I think maybe he could have a couple more boots. Maybe he could prioritize that spin on the Glamora. Obviously, he has to know that his removal is a big weakness. He could even bring like a more offensive max speed timid Glamora. Was he max speed timid Glamora last time? Hold on. He was, yeah, he was. Okay, so he could bring like a more offensive Glamora to be able to punish the Archaludon. That way, I can't block the spin. That would definitely make a lot of sense as well. So I think in some way that he is not going to make Spikes as beneficial in this game. And really, I don't like Deoxys outside of that. I mean, Palafin Jet Punch does a million. Grassy Glide from Rillaboom, if he does bring that, does a million. We can't really touch the Tinkaton. We were like a weird Pain Split set last time to try to do anything. Zoroark Hisui's going to be Scarf if it's brought. It's going to put me in a really awkward position. Darkrai could have Sucker Punch, or it could put on a lot of pressure. And then we have 4 Move Slot Syndrome, because then if we're Spikes and Pain Split, our last 2 have to be Psychic Move and Fighting Move. And then we don't hit And then, I don't know, we have to be like superpower to do damage to the Darkrai, and he's probably going to be Chople anyway, and then KOS. Like, I don't love Deoxys in this matchup, and I actually think it doesn't hold as much of a purpose as Tentacruel, which is the first Pokemon that we're going to talk about that we're bringing. We are bringing Banded Tentacruel, because again, I'm very much so hyper focusing on the team that he brought last time, and like I look at it in the grand scheme of things, and I was trying to find a good lead into the Rillaboom that he brought last time, and I kept going back to either the Zarude, maybe we could be like a Banded set this time. Banded I think made a lot of sense and was definitely seriously considered, but I had another set that I really liked based on the team that he brought last time that I think he really has a hard time stopping, or some sort of Tentacruel. But the problem I kept running into with Tentacruel is that I couldn't OHKO the Rillaboom, and then it did like over half to potentially an OHKO depending on the spread on the Rillaboom. So I was running some funny calcs, and I decided that even though I have 70 base attack, Water Poison is actually a very good stab combination. Why do I say stab so weird? It's a very good stab combination in this matchup. So Flip Turn having momentum with the speed tier and with the band actually makes me very strong. So Chef should actually be doing some actual damage output here, and Gunk with the band is the only possible way that we can OHKO the max HP Rillaboom off lead, off turn 1. So I think more times than not, he's actually probably going to stay in and go for the knockoff, because that knockoff turn 1 is extremely valuable, and he's going to just try to chew up the Sludge Bomb, because I think a non-invested Sludge Bomb, let me double check, I think it does like not even half to an AV Rillaboom. I mean, to the set that he was last time, Sludge Bomb does 27 to 32%. 27.2 to 32.7%. That's a lot of the same number. So I think that he could comfortably stay in there. And even if he throws off a Wood Hammer raw, he does 73 to 87% to me. Like, he gets some big damage off. So realistically, in my opinion, there's not a lot of reason for him to switch out on that turn 1 unless he's that scared of the poison. Because I guess after the poison, he'd be a little above 50%, and that could be a little bit annoying. However, I think the knockoff potential on that turn 1 is so strong that he stays in on that turn 1 if this is his lead again and tries to click knockoff. And if he does that, we wipe him clean off of the face of the earth. So that's kind of the other part of that as well, is not only does it lead well into the Rillaboom, I also think his only other real solid lead, if not Palafin, is going to be the Tinkaton, which we do tremendous damage to with Flip Turn. It's like 30 to 40% depending on the spread that he is, which is like unrecoverable chip for the resist to Enamorus and Zarude in the back. Like, Tinkaton does so good in this matchup. That chip is extremely valuable, and I'm totally fine with trading rocks being up for like a turn or 2 turns to get Tentacruel in and get that massive Flip Turn off or that massive liquidation off and get that damage off to put him closer into range of other things that we'll talk about in a little bit. And then obviously we're packing Rapid Spin. We don't want hazards up on the field. We're not going to be boots on very many, if any, things this week. So Rapid Spin is going to come in clutch. And then we're Liquidation last. Liquidation can do a tremendous amount of damage to the Tinkaton. Let me just pull that up here. I mean, Liquidation to max HP Tinkaton does 50 to 59%, so that's a potential 2-hit KO if he is not Citrus. And even if he is Citrus, we pop that Citrus, and with Liquidation, he doesn't do a lot to us back other than get a potential Thunder Wave off, or knock us off, I suppose. So either way, I'm feeling very comfortable with this Tentacruel set. We have enough Fizz Depth. Let me pull it up really quick. We live 2 Adamant Banded Palafin Jet Punches after rocks, or 1 Wave Crash after rocks. And then we went enough speed to outspeed an Adamant Rillaboom. I don't think, given the matchup, realistically, should you speed tie Arcaladon? I don't think so, in my opinion, especially if you're going to be an AV variant. I really, like, you would have to be like a Swords Dance Trailblaze variant for me to even consider you outspeeding the Arc, in which case, if you're Swords Dance Trailblaze, if you're Adamant, if you're Swords Dance Trailblaze and you're Jolly, you probably KO me. However, I don't think you're going to be Jolly in this matchup. So this is like, I'm super hard reading what I think he's going to be bringing with this Tentacruel. I'm very confident in that though. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And we lose Tentacruel turn 1, unfortunately. However, we're not going to do that. And I DM'd Chef and he told me that he's going to land his Gunk turn 1 no matter what. So, and the sequence that we had mapped out, and why I want to talk about this Pokemon first, is we lead Tentacruel, he leads Rillaboom. We unsuspectingly OHKO him with the Gunk shot. He goes into Palafin and then hard doubles into Tinkaton as we switch out into our next Pokemon, which is going to be Arcaladon. And this was a really hard sequence for us to ultimately map out. We could not find a good way to get an advantage on the Tinkaton. He could not go Palafin there, by the way. He could go raw Tinkaton, get rocks up. That also makes a lot of sense, or knockoff or Thunder Wave. Any of those make sense. However, what we're thinking is Palafin double out, Tinkaton comes in, so he has Palafin hero for later in the game. Doesn't have to worry about that. I think that would be more beneficial than rocks, in my opinion. So with this Archaludon set, we're going to be Lumberry, Light Screen, Swords Dance, Outrage, and Earthquake. Light Screen gives us a lot of setup opportunity because we have 2 setup sweepers in the back, and also makes the game a little bit easier to soak up hits into things like specifically the Darkrai, and obviously the Glimora as well. So those 2 Pokemon are pretty hard for us to deal with. So Light Screen came from the idea, the original set that I had on Archaludon was going to be Light Clay, dual screens, like special. It didn't really work though, because we always got paralyzed and then knocked off by the Tinkaton, and then like I mean in the mock we got paralyzed like 5 out of 7 turns. Like, it was pretty ridiculous, so we didn't really see the full effect. However, we agree that this set would put us in a better position into the specific sequence that we think is going to happen. Swords Dance plus Outrage hits everything on his team except for that Tinkaton, and Tinkaton can absorb the Outrage, not do any damage back to us, and we can OHKO it with a +2 Earthquake, or we can 2-hit KO it in grassy terrain. It's not ideal. We don't have a better way to hit it. Even in grassy terrain, the only move to hit it better would be like Hard Press. But actually Hard Press over 2 turns does less damage than Earthquake, and Earthquake pops that Citrus and puts it low if he does have it, even in terrain. So I mean, we give and we take. We can chew up that Lumberry after he throws out the Thunder Wave turn 1, which is probably what's going to happen. So we should be in a pretty good situation with this Archaludon on this Tinkaton, at least to where we get some sustainable chip on that Pokemon, which is a massive threat to a lot of our teams in terms of it just takes a hit and can Thunder Wave us, and that is super annoying. The only like iffy thing on that is if he Thunder Waves the first turn when we hard switch our Archaludon in. That would be extremely annoying because then we wouldn't have the Lumberry, so we can't guarantee damage on that Tinkaton because he will have already done what he wants to do. It can double out after the Swords Dance, right? And that's like, we can't do anything about that. And also if he hard calls me in the Encores, right? Like, that's also another pretty tough situation. So our speed tier, I believe we're outspeeding the Palafin that he was last time, which was like pretty much no speed adamant. We have enough speed depth to take 2 Darkrai Dark Pulses under Light Screen at +2, I believe. It's something like that. And then we put the rest into attack adamant. And again, Archaludon is very important for a lot of our plan. We do want to break through the Tinkaton with this Pokemon, and this is going to be our initial Tinkaton switch in. But our next Pokemon is going to be a later in the game Tinkaton switch in, and that is going to be Mrs. Zaba the Enamorous. We're a really weird set here. This is the set that I'm the least confident on. Wagon had this idea to be Terra Steel Taunt. That way we actually can always consistently beat the Tinkaton in case we don't break through it with the Archaludon. The other option was going to be Specs. I liked Specs quite a bit. However, I don't know. I still like, I almost switched before this video, to be honest. Because if we're so confident we deal with Rillaboom, I think that Enamorous should be a breaker. However, Terra Steel does give us a way to live a hit from the Darkrai and KO it back, so I do like that. There's a lot of give and take, right? The Taunt allows us to beat the Tinkaton though, no Rocks, no Thunder Wave, no Encore, and that's fantastic. And with Terra Steel, we can set up in the face of Tinkaton. We can get, with the Grassy Seed, if we do allow that to trigger at any point, get to +1/+1/+1, and then we're pretty hard to stop at that point. We're going to be Moonblast and Earth Power. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. I don't really need to talk about that a whole lot. And we are, I think, the same spread as last time. We have enough speed to outspeed the Modest Zapdos, I want to say, and then Max Special Attack Adamant, or Max Special Attack Modest Rest into HP. This is going to be a breaker, but also its secondary purpose is going to be specifically to seek out that Tinkaton and set up on it if it does become a problem. Our next Pokemon is going to be #1 Driver, the Conkeldurr. We are literally copy-paste the same set as last time because I think, like, there's no better Conk set in the matchup. Like, verbatim, I don't know if I'm using that right in this context. I guess I am. This is the best set in the matchup. Again, this is Chef's set, so shout out to Chef. This beats like any variant of the Darkrai that we can imagine. With no prior chip, it gives us Mach Punch for later in the game. We can get Static on the Zapdos, we can get Guts, Drain Punch plus Ice Punch hits everything. Like, this set's really, really good, man. I don't remember the exact specifics of what this set chews up. Let me see if I have that. I don't. So I think it took 2 Darkrai Psychics after the Pyappa. So Psychic into Psychic after Pyappa. And then we had enough defense to live like a Palafin, 2 Palafin Adamant Wave Crashes, or 2 Palafin Adamant Jet Punches maybe, and then the rest into Attack Adamant. That's what sounds right to me. However, I could be wrong, and it could be like we OHKO the Darkrai after Rocks with the Drain Punch, something like that. I mean, the set's pretty self-explanatory. This is our Darkrai check. Next up, we are bringing pretty much the same Swampert as well. I really like this Swampert to shut down the Zapdos. The Zapdos literally felt like it had no pressure in the entire game last time because of how prominent Swampert existing was. It didn't do anything, and it actually was a set to where it didn't help win the game. So we did change one thing. We switched Ice Beam off to Chilling Water, because I actually looked back at the footage and I think that if we were Chilling Water last time, we went hard Swampert, we lived the Jet Punch into the Jet Punch, and we died to the Poison. However, we would have got a Chilling Water off to where Zarude would have lived the Jet Punch at -1, I think. I didn't go back and check that. I might have died after hazards. However, that situation is possible and definitely more plausible than the likelihood of Ice Beam on a hard Rillaboom switch. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So Chilling Water actually has some potential use here. Otherwise, it's like the same set, except we have enough special attack to break a Palafin sub with the HP, the number that he was last time. I think it was 240. But other than that, it's the same Swampert. And then lastly, the star of the show, the first Pokemon I put on the paste actually, it's going to be David. I was very shocked as to how much Uzi disrespected this set last time, because this was the initial set that we had in the builder last time, or a very similar set. I think we were, this might have been it. We might have had Synth over something. Synth over Trailblaze maybe? Or what's it called? Jungle Healing over one of these? I don't remember. It's very similar to the set we had in the builder last time, and then we switched it off for the Encore Mirror Herb set. I'm switching back. I think this set does so good. I think he had nothing. Genuinely almost nothing for this set, and I think there were so many opportunities where, like, if we had Trailblaze, we just kind of won the game. So I think we don't even need Swords Dance realistically because of how strong Zarude is, especially if he gives us Terrain, if he gives us any chip on Zapdos. Like, this Pokemon is so unbelievably strong in this matchup. There are very, very few resists. It's kind of just Tinkaton, and Tinkaton, the whole point of this team is we beat the f out of Tinkaton. We beat that Pokemon down. So the whole idea is to get into an in-game where we can get either a Trailblaze off or a Swords Dance off and win the game with this Zarude. And I think that's very, very possible. We have enough speed to outspeed that modest Zapdos, almost at Adamant. And then Power Whip plus Knockoff just does so much damage to everything on his team. I'm also Pads this time. I almost went Boots. I think maybe Boots is better, realistically speaking. Like, looking back, maybe I could have went Boots. But Pads makes sure that we do not have... I might even reach in to have the Boots. Pads make sure that we never get static on Zapdos though, which I do think is pretty important, because did you guys know Power Whip makes contact? Why the f does Power Whip make contact? Who decided this, bro? I'm summoning a vine from my arm and you tell me I'm making I don't know, bro. I think it's stupid. If it wasn't Power Whip, we would be Boots. I'm actually really debating going Boots Petal Blizzard now, but I think I regretted last time having Petal Blizzard over Power Whip because of the damage output. So, you know what, we're staying. We're gonna keep, Sheffrey's gonna keep the hazards off the field. I do think realistically we are gonna find an in-game with this Zarude, especially if he's banded Palafin. That's why I was so shocked to see the banded Palafin last time, because of how many setup opportunities it gave to Zarude, which isn't like the most shocking thing in the world if he brought more stuff for the Zarude, which I feel like he didn't. I feel like he disrespected the fuck out of Zarude last time. So I don't know. We'll see. We're going to try our best, man. I do think this is a really good team. I think if we stay to the game plan, we have a really good chance to win this game. I'm really looking forward to it. Again, not super sold on the Enamorous set. We'll see how that works, and hopefully I don't regret Pads over Boots on Zarude. Let me know what you guys think of this team down below. I would look it off to the side for most of this video. I apologize for that. Normally I try to make eye contact with the camera. I was really focused on this team though. I'm gonna go make a tea before we battle Uzi, and then we're gonna go ahead and jump in this battle. Be sure to tune in to BUBL Round 1 tomorrow, and thank you guys so much for watching. And for now, guys, this has been John Jr. signing off.